Hello there, and welcome into my Sunday Selah. I wanted to make sure I give this message because I am of the essence of time. I know you've heard that cliche before. We're talking about things that are urgent, things that we need to get done now. And this is where we are in this last day. There's a lot that needs to be done, and there's a lot being done that Daddy ain't told us to do. So I want to talk about that briefly in regards to time. You know, time versus purpose. And the reason why I wanted to talk about time versus purpose is because even with this cliche, we can find a lot of us doing a lot of things that we say that are good things, that are not God time things. We got to make sure that we think about where are we in our time. As I begin to meditate on a couple of things today, one of the things I was going to do, I was going to think in my time that I was going to go to the hospital and do some chaplaincy rounds and pray with some people. But Allah spoke to me and said, that's what you want to do on your time. You know, this is not my time for you. And so after I heard that, I began to be quiet and just meditate on, then what do I need to be doing? You need to be talking about the time that I've given you to talk about the time versus the purpose. And, you know, because a lot of us are doing a lot of things in our own time because we know it's a good thing to do. And so I really wanted to share about the time versus the purpose. And as I began to meditate on this, a couple of days ago, Holy Spirit told me to get the elder Miles Monroe's book. For some of you who might already have it, I'm speaking from that a little bit. Because as he spoke to me about time, you know, I began to really think about it because I am transitioning to some different times in my life. And so the Sunday Selah, you may not hear from me, but maybe once a month. Some of you will be glad, though. But you may not hear from me because I am going to be in a time zone that I've got to focus on some assignments that he's given me that has to be on his time. And so in speaking that, I thought about, you know, making sure that I obey him in talking about the purpose of his time. You know, the purpose of his time, you know, when he created us is what Dr. Miles was saying here. When he created us in his time, and that he had a certain time for the height of our maturity to come forth. And what he was talking about, that if you read Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 11, it says that he has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men, yet they cannot fathom what God has done from beginning to end. And so this word, he says, beauty has to do with maturation, has to do with fulfillment and perfection. And so in other words, God creates everything with a purpose and gives every purpose a time. Then allows it to make progress, allows it to be perfected. And he makes everything beautiful in the time he gives it. That's what he said. I thought it was so powerful. So as I got this book, and I've had this book for years when it first came out, but I was glad to get it back and kind of talk to you briefly about that message concerning purpose and time. But I wanted to title this time, you know, because we got to look at the time that we're in, the time that is so vital. He talking about that there is a vital time for us to capture, for us to maximize our time in our life. If you go back and look at your life even now, if you do an assessment, I looked at it, I'll be 65 years old this year, and I bless God that he's equipped me to do a lot of things, some in my time, some was in his time. And many of us have the wrong motive about what we're doing in the time that we choose. And so I went back and I kind of did a little assessment. I'm still assessing my time over these 64 years that I'll be 65 this year. I started to think about the parable of the talents in Matthew chapter 25, verse 21, where the servant said, his Lord said unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant, which means that he said that he had received 2 talents. You know, and that the scripture goes on to say that everything that he has given them, they actually begin to do. Some did it in their time, in their way. But this particular one, in verse 22, he said he also had received 2 talents. And he came and said, Lord, thou deliveredst unto me 2 talents. Behold, I gained 2 other talents beside them. He said, his Lord said unto him, well done, good and faithful servant. Now, the thing is, we got to recognize, go ahead and read that chapter on your time, but we got to recognize, we got to look at that God has given us time, and the time is so critical that you assess your time, assess your relationships in time, assess what am I doing concerning this marriage, what am I doing concerning this relationship, concerning this friendship. Many of you have really expired the time that you're still in this dead church, who is not doing any ministry, just doing 4-wall things that is not saving anybody else but the inside ministry. We got to go up higher in the time. We need to look at what am I doing with this roommate type of conditional marriage in this time? Where am I in this dead type of friendship, this deep hater, faker relationship of a friend? Where am I in this time where I'm still spending all of this time and I have not grown in this church or in this ministry or through this ministry of a mentor type or birthing type of ministry that's supposed to help me birth out or mentor or coach me, use that word a lot today. Where am I in my time? As I began to think about it, I said, Daddy, help me understand or give me what I need to be saying to them concerning time. As I start to think about time versus what is critical in my life and what is critical should be in your life, and that time should be based on what Daddy wants right now. And so for sake of time, I just want you to know that we've all been given time in our lives to fulfill our purpose. This Selah that I wanted to share with you today, because I am in meditation, because I am being quiet to see every day what should I be accountable to Daddy about fulfilling the time that he's given me, the dreams, the visions that he's shown me. You need to think about looking over what he pointed out in here. He said, what have you done in the last year? What have you done with what God has already given you? In the last month. And here we are fixed to be, that is, already in our 6th month of 2019. What have you done, in this 6 months right now that you can say that I have been in Abba's time for? Where are you in this time, and what can you show or justify for your time? Time was given to us to fulfill a purpose. So I want to leave you with this message for you to think about. I want you to say like this. I want you to go and talk to Daddy about the time, how you've been spending your time, who you've been spending your time with. And is it Daddy's time or has it been your time? Has it been your time to say, it is my time? It's my time to arrive. It's my time to preach. It's my time to have this car. It's my time to buy this house. And has Daddy really spoken to you about that time? And that's what I thought was so powerful today. It wasn't time. I said, yes, Daddy, whatever you want me to do. I felt like it was something missing. Some of us are in times of things that Daddy is saying, it's not about you feeling empty. It's not about you feeling lonely. It's not about you feeling useless. It's that I'm wooing you to give me some of your time. I know I'm talking to somebody. You need to say like this today. You need to think about and admonish your soul to get up and get into a place of time with just Daddy. So you can look at the purposes that you have been spending your time in. You look at the meaning of why, the motive of why you are in this time, in this place. And the Bible goes on to say to us in Ephesians 5:15 and 16 that we need to walk circumspectively, and not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are evil. And we know that the enemy got a lot of fancy little things and fancy little ways and cunning little ways to use other people and for us to even be slipped into to do a thing that is not even Daddy's time. And so we look out throughout the ministry of Jesus, he did a lot of things. And think about, are you in the time of doing evangelical work? Or are you in the time of just sitting on the pews and you know that is calling you up higher to do something in his time? I know I'm talking to somebody. And so the time is now for you to get along with God and pray and say, Daddy, am I out of your time? Daddy, what can I do to make sure that I don't miss your time? You know, you need to think about that. Think about what's missing. What is critical in your life that you should be doing right now? And I'm going to get out here. The time is what he said in here is always given for the completion of purpose. He also said that we need to make sure that we follow Daddy's kind of tracks and what he has done. You know, look at the fact that his goal was not just the fact that he went to Calvary, but he was resurrected in time. And so that means we need to make sure that we be resurrected in time, that we may get to do the eternal work that he's called us to do. God has given you an assignment, and that is awesome. So think about, are you in the time of what he's telling you to do in that assignment? Think about, would it take you just all of your life trying to figure out what that time is to complete it? Think about, what are you doing and what are you putting in? What are you seasoning into Daddy's time? He invites you to live by faith. Yes, he does. But he wants us to move with him beyond the limitations of what we can see and what we can hear and what we can feel, you know, and what we're given in the moment. You know, he wants to see the perspective, kingdom-minded way. And we can move from living for just for today and living, appearing that we're not confident or that we are not doing enough to looking forward, looking into eternity time. And so I'll say like this, and I'm going to get off. I love how he said, knowing your purpose and the time associated with it will allow you to be effective and productive for your living, using the time he gives you. Yes, the time he gives you for the purpose for which he has gave it, because every purpose is going to have a time. And so I'll close with this Selah, and it's coming from Psalms 90 and 12 is what he put here. He who has time to burn will never give the world much light. Killing time is not murder. He said it's suicide. Teach us, Lord, is what Psalm 90 and 12 says, to number our days aright, that we may give a heart, that we may gain, that is, a heart of wisdom. Remember, God, who is eternal, exists outside of time. God gives everything purpose, a time that allows it to reach its perfection. Time is always given for a purpose. Time is not just used for its intended purpose. It is wasted and lost if it is not used for God's time and purpose. Say like that. I love you. Thank you for joining me today in my moment and my time of Sunday Selah. I pray you have a wonderful week. Please share the message.